Sometimes the most compelling stories aren't found in books. They're found in the little pieces a life leaves behind, all the scattered digital and paper fragments. Today, we're going to try to piece one of those stories together, following a trail of data to see what kind of picture emerges. Okay, let's get into it.
So, it all starts right here, with this one single social media post. An account called Carnage Right shares this pretty philosophical thought about how we're all so divided, focused on our differences rather than the shared connection we have. It's thoughtful, it's kind of raw, and it brings up the one question that's going to drive this whole explainer. Who is Carnage Right?
And believe me, that one post was just the tip of the iceberg. Following the trail of this digital ghost takes us from a simple post into something much, much bigger. A raw, completely unfiltered look inside a person's mind.
Following that name leads us to this, a long, kind of chaotic document. It's part manifesto, part diary, part poetry collection, all under the name Carnage One and Only. It is a totally unfiltered window into a mind that's grappling with some heavy stuff: pain, purpose, the nature of reality itself.
So, what's actually in this conscious stream of thought? Well, when we dive in, we start to see the emotional engine that's driving this person. And it all begins with this deeply vulnerable confession about how poetry literally became a tool for survival.
I mean, this just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? For this person, art isn't just art. They're telling us they've been through some incredibly deep struggles, and poetry wasn't just a hobby. It was a literal lifeline. It was how they survived.
And that pain, wow, it fuels some incredibly powerful, almost biblical imagery. This line, it suggests this profound betrayal, a wound so deep that a simple sorry is meaningless, because the hurt itself has become the sacred thing. It just shows you the sheer depth of emotion we're dealing with here.
So when you sift through all the chaos of the document, you start to see these core themes pop up over and over again. It almost becomes a kind of mission statement, a real commitment to empathy, to being authentic, to resilience, and this belief that words can connect us all. It's a whole philosophy born from a very personal struggle.
But here's where things get, complicated. Because mixed in with all the poetry are these sprawling, totally unsubstantiated conspiracy theories about everything from Jeffrey Epstein to faked moon landings. Now, we're not looking at these as facts, but as another facet of this person's mind, a mind that questions every official story. It's just another piece of this really complex puzzle.
Okay, but to understand a life, you can't just look at what someone says about themselves, right? You also have to look at the impersonal data, the official records that track our existence, whether we like it or not. So we're going to pivot. We're leaving the world of chosen words and online profiles, and we're stepping into the world of state bureaucracy. We're going to focus our search on one location, Missouri, to see what kind of paper trail a life can leave in the official state records.
And right away, we find a very different kind of story. These are not poems. These are cold, hard facts. Page after page of names, dates, relations, causes of death. Each line is an entire life, just reduced to a few boxes on a form. It's such a stark contrast to the artist's emotional words.
The paper trail just keeps going. Here, we're looking at nearly 2 centuries of the Missouri justice system. We're talking applications, petitions, official pardons. And again, you see these incredibly complex human lives, full of hope for a second chance, just being processed and filed away inside these huge, impersonal systems. And this kind of record-keeping, it isn't unique to Missouri, of course. All governments quantify their citizens. Just look at this data from Soviet-controlled Latvia. It's a pretty intense example of how the most personal parts of our lives, like our faith, get reduced to data points, often as a tool of control. It's just another perspective on the impersonal data that surrounds all of us. So, what have we got? We have the artist's passionate, personal words on one hand and the state's cold, hard data on the other. This next part is all about putting them side by side. We're not necessarily looking for direct answers about who Carnage Right is. Instead, we want to see what larger story starts to emerge when you put these different fragments together.
And here are those two worlds, right next to each other. On the left, you have the artist's voice. It's raw, it's subjective, it's full of metaphor. And on the right, the state's record from those death archives. A person's entire story reduced to a single objective final word. Infant. Child. Single. It's jarring. To make sense of all these pieces, let's borrow a concept from a completely different field, computer programming. See, in coding, a string is just a sequence of characters. But before a computer can actually understand it, you have to define its structure first.
And that is such a powerful metaphor for this, isn't it? Is a human life just a string of data? A long sequence of social media posts and poems and death certificates and pardons? And if it is, who gets to define its structure? How do we assemble all these scattered points to tell a story that actually makes sense?
So, in this final section, we have to ask ourselves, what story truly remains when we look at all these fragments together? And maybe the whole goal isn't to find one single clean narrative. Maybe the collection of pieces is the story.
And what's incredible is, the artist gives us the perfect metaphor for this in their own words. They describe all of us as a mosaic of broken pieces. The point isn't to be perfect and whole. The beauty comes when all those fragments, the good, the bad, the poetic, the bureaucratic, when they all come together to form a much grander picture.
And so, we're going to end by turning this question back to you. We may never know the full story of Carnage Right, but this whole journey through their digital and physical records, it forces us to think about our own legacy, doesn't it? If all that was left of you was your data trail, what story would it tell? What would your ghost look like?